A very warm welcome to all my dear class 6 students. This is going to be your first class with me, Ms. Vile, with your English lessons. And today we are going to start with a prose, that is the story. It's going to be a very interesting story that you all are going to hear from me, and I would like you to get ready with your textbook before we really get into the story. I'll mention the page numbers to help you. It's in page number 56 to 62. I repeat, page number 56 to 62. The title of our story is A Different Kind of School. A Different Kind of School. Here in this story, we are going to discuss about Miss Beam. She will be a lady who is also the proprietor of the school, of a different kind of school. We will have the narrator. Narrator is a person who tells us the story, okay? So the narrator is the writer himself, and you will come across some words which some of you may find it difficult, and that is the reason why I will explain to you the meaning of this word first, okay? Lame. Lame is a person who is unable to walk or who finds it difficult to walk, okay? Crutch. Crutch is a support that a lame person needs to walk. You have seen people walking with crutch, right? They would be putting some kind of support under their arms so that it will help them walk. And so that is a crutch. Blindfold. You might have played games by blindfolding, right? Covering your eyes with a piece of cloth. That is called blindfold. And thoughtfulness. You know what is thought, right? Sometimes you don't think for others, that means you are thoughtless. And thoughtfulness, you can also use it in the other word as kind. We become so thoughtful for others, and we also want to do things for them. So we call that as thoughtfulness. And responsible. I repeat, responsible means aware of one's own duty. Aware of one's own duty. You have seen that sometimes there are some people who are not so responsible of their own work, right? Even in your classes, you might have seen some students who do not want to do their homework. They come to the school and they would like to ask the help of fellow classmates without doing their duties. That means they are irresponsible, okay? And getting into the lesson, a different kind of school. I want you to imagine of how your school is like, okay? I'm not judging any kind of school, but sometimes when we think of school, what comes to our mind is we think of students wearing uniform, sitting inside the classroom, listening to the teacher's explanation, taking down notes whenever they ask us. That is what comes to our mind. I know there are so many activities that we do at school, but the first thing that comes to our mind when we think about school is those activities, right? Sitting inside the class, listening to our teacher's explanations. Sometimes you might also find it boring, isn't it? But teachers are teaching you the things which are important for you, so you should not consider that to be boring. But as a normal student, as a normal person, what we usually face is we get bored with the normal daily routines because it is monotonous. Monotonous means doing the same thing over and over again. But the school that we are going to attend today is going to be a very, very different kind of school. Our narrator had heard about the school of Miss Beam for so many reasons. And we hear about people keep talking about us either because we are good or because we are bad, because we are different from the rest. Let's say, if you hear one of your friend getting top in the exam, you all talk about that person. It is because of his or her positive qualities, right? And there are times that our friends even talk about us for the bad things that we do, or maybe for the negative reasons. That is what we have seen a lot of time. We also discuss about our friends, isn't it? We also discuss about our friends because they have done something differently. If everyone scored pass mark in the examination and there is no one with a different mark, you will not be talking about anyone in particular. But if you see a person who is doing very well and is ahead of the rest of the class, if all the students get pass mark and that student scores 80%, I'm sure the whole class and even the whole school might be talking about that person. So, likewise, even the school that Miss Beam runs has become a topic for people to discuss. And even our narrator had been hearing about the school for so many days, for so many months, and he had been wishing to visit, but he could not make the time, or maybe so many reasons are there, right? A person will not just allow you to visit their school without any reason. If you are a stranger, you go to a school and keep sitting in the principal's office, that would be a little awkward for people and for even for you, for that matter. But here, this narrator, he might have taken some permission. He went to visit Miss Beam's school, the so much talked about school in the town and even around, because their schooling system was of a different kind. Now you must be wondering and eager to let me tell you what kind of school that is. And here, the school which he had been wishing to visit for so many years, it's the time that he had come to visit today, okay? And when he went there, he did not see anyone. In a normal school, you will see children playing around or the teachers teaching in the class. But when he went in, he could not see anybody. He did not see anybody. He just saw a girl of about 12 years old. 12 years old will be a little elder to you, for some of you, or maybe some of you are 12 years, because by now you are in class 6. Majority of you will be 11 years old. Of course, there are some ages that varies. Okay, so you can imagine that girl who was almost of your age. She was walking blindfolded with bandage on her eyes. You can imagine that, right? If you have any eye problem, going to school blindfolded would be a very difficult thing. But when he went there, he saw that a young boy was leading her, okay? Because if you are blind, you have to take somebody's help to go to school. Or there will be some people who could not even go to school because they are blind. But he thought that it would be very difficult for this girl to go to school in this condition. And he was looking at them, okay? He was looking at the boy who was almost 4 years younger to the girl, okay? Their age. He did not really know what their age was, but he thought that by looking at these two students, the boy would be around 4 years younger to the girl. Okay, the girl is 12 years, so maybe the boy is about 8 years of age. And he was leading the girl very carefully. They were working near the flower beds, okay? There were some flowers planted near the school, and so they were working near that. But when he entered, the girl seemed to be asking something to the boy. See, she could not see anything, and so the only thing that she can do is ask questions and take the help of that person who was leading her. And at this moment, he saw that the boy was explaining to the girl about him. Even if you are blind, if someone enters the room, you will also be able to make it out, right? So when he entered the room, he entered the school, the boy seemed to be explaining about him, how he looked, maybe of how the person is, and he saw them explaining to one another. He found that the girl is in a very difficult situation, in a very difficult position. And also, he went in to meet Miss Beam. Okay, I have shown you the spelling there. So he went to meet Miss Beam, and as expected, okay, he was expecting Miss Beam to be a middle-aged lady, and as expected, she was a middle-aged lady, full of authority. That means she seemed to be stern and strict. You know, teachers are usually strict at school, isn't it? And so she was expected to be stern, strict, as well as a middle-aged lady. If you do not know who is a middle-aged person, middle-age will be a person who is 45, usually from 45 to 65 years of age, okay? And so even though he could not make out the age exactly, he could see that this lady, Miss Beam, was a middle-aged lady. And they were discussing about that. And while they were still discussing about this, he wanted to know how the school really runs. And so he was asking questions of how she runs the school. Miss Beam explained to this man, to this boy, that they do not focus much on the lessons. They do not have much subjects. And that might be something different for us, right? Because when we go to a normal school, we usually attend, it depends on school also, but normally most of the school will have 7 to 8 periods, right? And for those 8 periods, you have to be in the class, listen to your teacher's explanation, and learn the different kind of subjects that your teachers teach you. And even sometimes you will get the opportunity to go out for your PT classes. Those are different issues. But here, he found out that their school was not such. They were just taught some simple letters, okay? That will help them. They do not study different subjects like we normally have in our normal classes. And he also said that they will just teach them some multiplication, that is your mathematics, right? Multiplication, subtraction, addition, those simple things will be taught to them. But apart from that, they are not taught thoughts, okay? Let me explain what I mean by thoughts. See, when we study the different subjects, we will read some thoughts written by different writers or authors, and we keep studying their thoughts that they have already put into written. And here, Miss Beam said that they are not taught thoughts, but they are taught to be thoughtful. You understood the difference? Thoughtful. We have to be thoughtful. We have to think for others in any kind of work. And they are also taught to be empathetic. Empathetic means being able to understand someone's problem by putting ourselves into the situation. See, when we are not blind, we do not know the difference of how it feels to be a blind man. Of course, we all sympathize with them, but sympathizing with them and empathizing is a different issue here. Empathizing means putting ourselves into their position and feel how it will be if we were in that situation. And sympathizing means just feeling pity for the misfortune that a person has, okay? So, Miss Beam told this boy, the narrator, that the students are taught to be empathetic, okay? To feel what the other persons feel. And they were also discussing about that. And Miss Beam looked out of the window while they were still having this discussion, okay? And then he saw, and he was also invited to join. Will you look out of the window? That's what he asked this narrator. And the narrator joined Miss Beam to look out of the window. When he looked out, from the window, he could see a beautiful playground where there are so many children playing around. They seemed to be enjoying a lot, okay? They were enjoying a lot. You can imagine of your recess time, right? After every third or fourth period, your school will give you a recess bell, and that is the happiest moment of the day, I'm sure. When you go to school, the recess bell will be the sweetest sound that you will hear, right? As soon as the bell rings, there are some students who cannot even wait to pack their books into their bag and they will just rush out, okay? That is the reason why the narrator also thought that these children might be having a lot of fun, but when he came back to the room after looking out of the window, what he told Miss Beam was, I'm sure they are enjoying a lot, but there is one thing that pains me, okay? There is one thing that pains me, and what was that reason? Let's discuss. He saw that there were some children who were not very healthy, okay? And he said, I feel for these students because they seem to be in pain. Because he saw that there was a student with a crutch. That means his legs might be having problem to stand or to walk. That was the reason why he had crutches, okay? He had got crutches, and he also saw that there were another 2 girls with blindfolded eyes, bandaged eyes. After seeing this, the narrator began to feel pity. He was sympathizing. I'm telling you, he sympathized, okay? He was feeling pity for the students who were not very healthy because some of them were blind, some of them were lame. They had to get crutches to stand and walk. He explained this to Miss Beam, but Miss Beam started laughing. See, when someone is talking about pains and sufferings, you laugh out in the middle of the conversation. What will you feel? It's very awkward, right? So our narrator felt the same thing. He was surprised to see that Miss Beam was laughing when he began to explain the pains that the children had to go through. But the reason why she was laughing is that she said They are not really blind, they are not really hurt, okay? It's their lame day and it's their blind day. What does it mean by lame day and blind day? He may not understand it. And so Miss Beam began to explain it to him. Every term, we do not focus much on the subjects. If they are able to read their lessons and if they are able to do the simple mathematics like calculations, calculations like multiplication, subtraction, addition, those are necessary for their life. But it is not about the knowledge that one gathers. It is about the feeling of empathy towards another person. That's what the school teaches them. And after explaining this, she also said that every term, you have your term exams, right? Midterm or first term, second term. That's how we go about. Especially for the higher classes, they have midterm and term. And for the middle classes, we have first term, second term, final. That's how it goes about. So for every term, each child gets to be blind, okay? That means even though that child is not blind, he had to be blindfolded so that he cannot see anything. And they will be made to promise that they will not peep out. When somebody blindfolds you, when somebody ties a scarf on your eyes, what do? There are some games that we play blindfolded, isn't it? And so in this, when somebody covers your eyes with something, what we usually feel is we want to peep out of it to see what is going on, and even to take a few steps beyond becomes too difficult for us. But in the school, the children are made to give a promise that they will not break this, and they will spend the entire day blindfolded. And even the lame, what they do is their leg would be tied up so that they have to hop. You can imagine that, right? They have to hop. So they have to stand with one leg with the support of crutches, and then they have to hop. And this is how it goes about for the lame day, and even for the ones who get the dumb day, mute we call it, isn't it? On the mute day, they will not be able to speak anything, and they have, even though their mouth is not bandaged because that cannot be done, they will not speak even a single word, imagining that they are mute for the day. That means they are dumb for the day. And for some students, they will have to go through the problems that a deaf person goes through. He will not be made to listen to anything. We do not know what kind of techniques they use, but maybe their ears are covered with some things that they will not be able to hear or listen to what other people are saying. So Miss Beam explained this to the narrator very clearly, that each child had to go through one of each days before the end of the exam. That means before the end of the term, apart from the normal school. And the only thing that the children learn from the books is, as I said, the simple multiplication, addition, subtraction, and the ability to read and write. That's what they learn. And when their teachers are to teach them something, they have to fold their arms, they have to keep quiet and listen to the interesting stories, not like the other subjects that we have in our daily classes, okay? They will be taught how to behave and also how to understand people. Those are the qualities that the school teaches, and also they will be made to listen to some interesting stories. We all like to listen to stories, right? Especially for some students, they find the language subjects to be their favorite because they get to listen to the interesting stories that their teacher will teach them. This is what they get to listen every day. They will listen to that, and also they will be able to learn how to be kind towards others who have misfortunes. Misfortunes means not having everything that the other people have, okay? So they are made to understand this. We have a lot of things to be discussed in the next class, but since today we don't have much time, I'm going to end up our lesson here. Please go through your textbook, get thorough with it, and then come back fully prepared to listen and finish the story with me. Thank you so much.